We are live. Hello, anybody that joins us on replay or is watching live. So we are currently streaming to the Sip and Share page. Oh, look, Chris is on his already. I've got to make mine now. And on the Sip and Share YouTube page. And I am here with the lovely Chris Smart from Surrey Copper Distillery. Hello. The power of remote technology, the power of social media.
That's amazing, isn't it?
So I started this evening thinking, no, I won't have a drink. Look, I've got my diet. No, I won't have a drink because I'll do that on Friday. I won't have a drink. And then the first thing Chris says to me is, have you got a drink? And I went like a pathetic child, like, I've got a Diet Coke. He basically said, woman up, sort yourself out. So let me show everybody the collection I've got. Let me show them your family that I have in front of me.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool.
I've got the gang here. I've got the mum. So this was the Christmas edition of Craft Gin Club, wasn't it? End of last year.
It was the December edition, yeah. We specially made for them for Christmas, yeah.
Look at you specially making. All curious as to how that came out. So, and I just love this packaging. So this is now it's repositioned as volume 3, isn't it? This one.
It is, yeah.
Yes, I have a volume.
We weren't actually gonna be selling it, but we had obviously with the Craft Gin Club gin in the month of December, we got a huge amount of positive feedback. It was incredible. We had literally hundreds of people telling us that they wanted to buy another bottle and couldn't. So we thought we got to launch it. So that's what we did.
We've got to give the customers what they want, Chris. We've got
Absolutely.
And I have also got the beautiful. Now you kindly sent me 6, but unfortunately in this house there's something I have to do, and it's called sharing. Now I don't like doing it, but it has to be done. And you're drinking volume 1, aren't you?
I am, yeah, volume 1 with a little bit of, oh, there we go, a little bit and some lemon. Beautiful.
And I'm going to have the rest. Look, no need for a pourer. I'm just going to free pour my beautiful mini bottle.
Oh, there you go. That's about 20 minutes. That's not even a measure.
It's not going to touch the sides. Huh?
I think I've had a double. I don't bother at home. I always free pour. So I think it's a double. It might be a little bit more. It might be a little bit less. I don't know.
It's going to get janky the way. And you recommended elderflower tonic, didn't you? Elderflower tonic.
Volume 2, absolutely.
Volume 2, elderflower tonic, which is a Marlish elderflower tonic, my favourite. And some strawberries.
That's perfect. If you leave it a couple of minutes, it won't last that long, but if you leave a couple of minutes, here's a lovely pink colour.
This has gone from being a Diet Coke and a chat to
it's hump. What do they call it? Hump day, Wednesday, don't they? So I think we're allowed one. I've only been in about half an hour, so I thought I'd get a quick drink and then kind of get ready for this.
Kirsty says, love the glass. Kirsty, it's not a gin glass at all. This is actually
which one?
Yeah, oh yeah, good. I'm like that, my glass.
Bit of advertising.
Yours is branded, so that probably wins. This is an old-fashioned glass that my late year, I found 4 of these in her house, and I was like, look at that beauty. So cheers, Chris. Nice to meet you. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Oh, remember, this is bringing back memories of the review a couple of weeks ago. Kirsty says both glasses. She's keeping us both happy.
Very diplomatic.
Very diplomatic indeed. So this is Sip and Share's first official Share a Sip with the Distiller, Meet the Distiller interview. And you guys at Surrey Copper Distillery were one of the first distillers to very kindly send me all this beautiful stuff off the back of me having the Craft Gin Club one late last year. And so I said to you, you sound interesting, Chris. You've got a gorgeous brand, been all kind of nice. Fancy having a chat, and this is where we are. So introduce yourself for us. Tell us who you are. I've read your pedigree. I know about you guys now. I've been doing my homework. But for everyone else that doesn't know, tell us who you are, Chris.
Okay. So Chris Smart, I'm the managing director and also the head distiller at the Surrey Copper Distillery. I've been involved in the alcohol industry for quite a few years, and in a professional sense, I hasten to add, as my wife. And we set up this distillery. We started the business in 2017, and we got all the equipment together, and we launched our first products it's coming up to 2 years soon, towards the end of this month. So Volume 1 was released nearly 2 years ago, which is very exciting. We launched at the Dickens Museum. So we had a kind of load of people from the industry to come along to it, and it was a really great evening. We were supposed to finish at 9, and we had to throw them out at 10:30. It was a really good evening. It was fantastic. We loved it.
I can imagine.
So we've been involved in alcohol for a long time, and decided that if we were going to ever set up a distillery, we had to do it in 2017 because our youngest daughter was just about to go to university. And we thought, if we don't do it now, we're never going to do it. So we did it, and we're still here. It's brilliant.
So the poor girl, you set up a distillery as she left. So she doesn't get.
Don't worry, she's got her fair share.
I reckon she does all right out of it. So when you say get the products, get the kit together, I know are you still using your huge copper pot made in Italy? I read about this, and I think this might have something to do with why when I tasted your gins maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, my word was sophisticated and like.
I know, I saw that afterwards. I thought, wow, me sophisticated.
The irony of me being sophisticated, but a sort of a posh gin if you want to impress somebody. I remember in particular talking about Volume 1 in that sense. And so tell us a bit about this big bit of kit for us that drink it, all the common folk who drink and don't make. Teach us about this lovely pot that you've got.
Well, we didn't start with the big still, which I'll tell you about in a second. We actually started with a couple of little stills, just 2 litres, while we were getting all the big equipment in and kind of everything ready. So we did our product development, a lot of product development for about a year, maybe slightly over.
Wow.
2 little 2-litre stills. We called them Tweedledum and Tweedledee.
Yeah.
Because they do look a little bit like Tweedledum and Tweedledee. And we also then bought a 20-litre still, which we call Alice, Tweedledum, Tweedledee, and Alice.
Oh, I see where you're going.
I don't know if you're getting it, but there's a so the 20-litre still, we actually launched our first product from the 20-litre still, which will make only about 25 bottles a day. So it's tiny.
Yeah.
But we launched with that, and then obviously we got the big still in about a year and a half ago now, and got it all commissioned and wired up and all that kind of stuff. And that's been in operation for about 15 months now, maybe. And she's called Clara, and the reason she's called Clara, and most stills are female names.
Yeah.
This is a female name. But the main reason she's called Clara, or there are actually 2 or 3, is because David Copperfield's mum in the Charles Dickens book was called Clara.
Ah!
Every time we do a run using Clara, she's kind of giving birth, if you like, to David Copperfield every time we run it. So that's we thought that was kind of sweet. So she's called Clara for that reason. She's a 300-litre still, beautifully designed and made by some friends of ours called Green Engineering in Italy. So it's got all the technical stuff that you need, but it also looks beautiful too. It's specially built for us. And it's actually what's called a mini carter head still. So there's a 300-litre kind of central pot bit, and then a mini carter head above it, which gives you a little bit of what's called reflux, a little bit of evaporation, then it comes back down again to make a slightly smoother gin. But also what we have after that is something called an infuser basket. And that's about 100 litres, slightly lower. And that's where we put all our botanicals. So there's no botanicals in the still. They're all in the infuser. And you have to use a little bit more than you would if you put it into the still. But we have a lot more subtle and sophisticated as a result. And we just think that was the right thing to do. So it's a very similar process to how Bombay Sapphire, for example, is made.
Right.
In fact, the stills at Bombay Sapphire, the 2 biggish ones that are relatively new, were made by the same company.
Okay.
Purpose built for us with this infuser basket, and we get what we think is a very kind of smooth and hopefully quite easily drinkable, even neat gin each time we make it. So that's how we do it.
And I think, and by the looks of things, the audience on the Craft Gin Club is the audience which we know because of the demand that came back from the bottle, but also the fact that you've been going this long obviously shows, and the taste just simply shows you know what you're doing. It's quite obvious.
Well, I think we pretty deep learning curve. Just like technically, yes, we understood the whole processes, and we obviously understood it from a technical point of view, but never established or run a distillery before. So technical stuff actually in the distillery itself that we didn't necessarily understand. So it's been a steep learning curve, and we've loved every single minute of it. It's been brilliant.
And so you said at the beginning, one of my questions was going to be about, because I have questions. Nobody thinks I'm
wow. Like being on Paxman.
a Sharpie and everything. One of my questions was going to be about how many versions it takes to get to, because I've got some experience of this, but how many versions it takes to get to, you know, let's take my favorite out of your three is I think, oh, it's all gone, volume 2.
Okay.
This is my just tips it for me. So how many versions did you have to go through that you officially classed as a version to get?
Well, I honestly can't remember volume 2. But with volume 1, we started with a recipe. So Catherine collects old books, which is part of the reason why there's a kind of book theme around the whole branding. And she found a really old book, which was originally published in 1757, but she's got an 1801 version. It's got a guy called Ambrose Cooper, and he wrote the first kind of distilling book that we can find that's got real recipes on how to make gin on a commercial kind of scale in it. So we took those recipes, and we made the first one using that recipe. I mean, it wasn't exactly the same because we added a couple of botanicals that weren't in there because we wanted to make it really balanced.
Yeah.
So there were no floral notes. So we added a little bit of elderflower and something called cube bed berries, which give you a slightly lavender kind of a feel and flavour. So we ran that probably 35 times before we got to something that we were really happy with. And probably a little bit less than that because it's a slightly simpler gin in some respects. But even that was probably about 15 or 18.
So that's a lot of gin tasting. And who is it your wife Catherine who is she the fixed variable? Is she the taster every time?
She's a very, very good taster. I'm not so great, but she's a really good taster. Well, you can't just rely on 2 people. You need to have lots of people try it. Because something that you two might really prefer, say you and your husband really like a particular gin, somebody else might go, that doesn't really do it for me. Yeah. So you've got to get some feedback from different people. And we live in a lovely little village, and we used the local kind of, it's a sort of an off license, but it kind of the sort of the high end of gins and beers and wines and things. And we asked some of his customers to try it, and we got some feedback from them. And then we got something that with all 3 that we were really happy with.
So that perfectly leads on. Oh, it's like a bloody interview, this, folks. Like it's fun. Look at us go.
A bit more advertising.
God, have a sip now, don't you? That is very nice. I'll just sit and drink this all evening. Do you make? So I'm a marketeer, right? That's my bread and butter is my gin and tonic bread and butter. My gin and tonic is marketing. Do you make gins that you would like, that you go, that's the one I want, that's the flavor I like, or do you look and think, what would she like or what would he like over there? To what extent, what's the balance of that like for you?
I think you have to make something that you like. If you produce a product that suits somebody else's taste and not yours, it's very difficult to be passionate about it. You have to produce a gin that you really, really, really love. Otherwise, I imagine, I've never done that, but I can imagine it's very difficult to actually convince people to drink a product that you don't particularly enjoy. I don't know how you would do that. So you have to love it yourselves. Otherwise, I imagine that's very difficult. I mean, clearly you want other people to like it as well. And the vast majority of people that we've had try gins at fairs and all sorts of different places have loved them all, but most people have had a preference. That's probably a little bit more than maybe one of the other 2. So it does really vary. You can have a couple of one of them will say volume 1's my favourite, and the other one will say volume 2 is my favourite. So the gin's very, very individual. So you have to have something that kind of appeals to a reasonable number of people, but you have to love it yourself.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. You've got to know where you stand. I like that with branding and your business. You've got to know where you stand before you go out there. You've got to know what you like and what you're into, because you're going to have conversations about it and write about it and talk about it. We don't want to be flogging any old drizzly liquid, do we?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, ours is not. It's a very high quality product. We get the best ingredients that we can, and we make sure that we produce a really, really good quality gin. We have certain rules. So it has to be drinkable neat. Quite a few gins are not drinkable neat. They're just not smooth. So it has to be drinkable neat, which I kind of doing with the infusion method really helps that anyway. It does make a difference. So that kind of helps. But we want it to be a product that you can drink kind of on its own over ice, if that's how you prefer. Not many people do, but some people do. But it also needs to be robust enough to stand up to a tonic. So it's got to kind of fit those two criteria in terms of a drink, which is really a difficult balance to get, actually. But we really hard to make sure we get there.
I think it's a really hard balance to get, actually. I think especially the point about drinking it neat, because that's why when I taste them, I taste them neat. And every gin I've been part of tasting for a couple of other brands, being part of their tasting process, and always trying it neat, because you need to have that right before you go, because tonics vary so much. I mean, the tonic market and the sparkling water and the pressé market is just boomed and continuing to boom. So make it just I do have a question here. Question 4 on my list, Chris, about making your gin. Have you ever made a gin? Oh, Francesca, this is my question. I feel like I need to prove now. So Fran's saying, do you have specific tonics and mixes in mind when you have new flavours? And just so everyone knows, I can't even see well. Do you have a mixer in mind? I know, Fran. Virtual high five, Fran. Good question. It's a great
question. It is a good question. The answer is no. We did, I guess, with the first one, because that was a little while ago now. 3 years ago, we were developing that. At that point, Fever Tree was really the only other tonic you get, apart from sort of Britvic and Schweppes, who weren't quite there at that point. I think they are now, but they weren't then. So we definitely looked at Fever Tree, Indian Tonic, and Fever Tree Light as our preferred tonics. But because Volume 1 is a very classic London dry, very, very juniper rich. There's tons of juniper in there, but very balanced. Any kind of good premium tonic sort of works with it. If you've got you're right, and even Indian tonics vary enormously. There are some Indian tonics that I just can't drink. There are some, and some other people just love them. But if you find a premium tonic that works with Volume 1 or Volume 2 or Volume 3 that you enjoy, then there's no reason why you can't do that. That's about personal preference. But no, we don't really have a tonic in mind when we develop them. Once we've developed them and we like the gin, we'll then spend quite a lot of time looking at different tonics, and also looking at different garnishes as well, to see what kind of works and what doesn't. There are some ground rules around that. There are some basics, but you have to kind of experiment a little bit. So we spent quite a lot of evenings experimenting with all sorts of different botanicals and garnishes to make sure that it was at least right for us. It's a tough thing to test with customers, and the gin was liked. Then we kind of hoped that people would drink that tonic. But some people drink, Volume 3, for example, with an Indian tonic. We don't do that. We use the Merchant Hearts Hibiscus tonic, or any kind of fruit tonic like the Clementine tonic. So we don't really know. It's a good question, but we do spend a lot of time afterwards working on what we consider to be the perfect serve.
And I think if the tonic market is such a moving beast that trying to do something with a particular tonic in mind, certainly if you went brand specific, is near impossible. And in my mind now, Chris, you and Catherine, your home is this perfect balance of science and just old books, paintings, like floral flowers everywhere, and gin. Please reassure me that is pretty much how your life is.
Mostly, I'd say that was true. Yeah, I mean, I'm actually in the garden at the moment. I was going to do this outside, but we've got a lot of flowers. I don't think you want to see the garden. Not that exciting. No, I can't undo it.
We've got a lot going on outside now. I feel like I got again with the garden off. Oh yes,
there's a bit of garden there. Not much of it, but yeah, we love flowers, and we collect. I say we. Catherine collects a lot of old books. A lot of them are sciencey. A lot of the classics like the Dickens and Jane Austen, things like that. But yeah, the older the better, really. And we've got quite a few bookshelves with pretty old books in. Yeah.
And I remember, actually, it was our first Facebook messages, you just talked about what goes with volume 3, which this one is volume 3. I can tell that my husband's been at this one. Because I have this with rhubarb tonic, because I really like
fruity, yeah.
It's fruity, and it makes an almost like a spicy, sweet and sour, fruity thing going on. Really strong flavor. Very much about just a bit of my drink.
So it's different for different people. I don't think you could ever produce a gin, certainly as a small distiller, to fit a particular tonic. It's too much of a moving piece.
Yeah. So you are a small distiller right now. Do we want to be a big distiller? I mean, what does the future look like? What's happening for Surrey Copper Distillery? What's in your plan?
Okay, so no, we don't want to take on the world. That's not why we did this. Both myself and Catherine have spent a lot of time in corporate. She left the distillery a year and a bit ago, whatever it was, to go and work for a very large distiller or alcohol company, which she does now. So yeah, no, there's no intentions of taking on the world. We don't want to do that. We just want to do it for fun, and to kind of enjoy doing things that we wanted to do. Catherine's moved out of it now, but she's obviously aware of what's going on to some extent, but she's not involved really in the distillery anymore. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and we've really enjoyed doing it.
And has your daughter kind of sacked off her degree and decided, Dad, I am going to become a master distiller, I'm going to walk around the garden reading books, learning art and science, and become a distiller? Or is she on her university path?
Well, we've got 2 daughters. One graduated last year with her MA, and she's hoping to do a law conversion course, which she's going to start hopefully in September, if all this madness ends by then. Yeah. The youngest daughter's doing an art degree, and she finishes that, let me think, next year. So she's got just over a year to go, and then she'll do an MA or something, I'm sure, afterwards. But we'll see. The eldest daughter's been actually working for me for the last few months in the distillery. She's been, at the moment she's furloughed because I just don't have enough work for her to do. I can just about cover it myself.
Yeah.
She's been helping me in the distillery with bottling and labelling and all that kind of stuff, and doing social media. So she was doing our social media. We haven't really done any social media for about a month and a half, 2 months maybe, because I just haven't had the time, and she's furloughed. So we've been a bit quiet on that front, but hopefully, I think I'll probably bring her back. She doesn't know this yet. Bring her back probably in July, and kind of pick up the social media side of things on a sort of part-time basis if we ever go from there. But she'll be leaving in September to do a GDL or whatever it's called. So yeah, so I'll probably be looking to hire somebody towards the end of the year just to help me with things. It depends a little bit on how things go with this madness. Obviously, we're actually doing really well at the moment, which is great with all the online stuff. And we've got some big clients like John Lewis who are doing really well as well. So good. But yeah, the gin festivals are quite good for us in the summer, and they've all been cancelled clearly. And we've got quite a lot of pubs, bars, restaurants as customers who obviously are not open at the moment. And we'll see how things go over the next sort of 2-3 months, and then I'll probably look to recruit somebody towards the end of the year.
And that's it with like any business, any of my clients in the market side of things, they have to have the ability to scale up and scale back. And right now, having those multiple routes to market and having your other online retailers and other events and little boutique companies that do all these different things, that where they're suffering right now, your default position, which needs to be consistent, is your own sales through your website and through social media. You guys are all set up for that, and we've got there's been a discount code running in May, which has been 30% off. We're now 10% off for one of these big beauties. It's like a weapon. I don't know. It's a nice way to it's like a solid bottle. It won't be, just a caveat, it won't be used as a weapon in case anyone's listening. Right, really nice.
In terms of the distillery, we built it. We're actually in a pretty new industrial unit at a place called Dunsfell Park. We're actually just outside the Top Gear test track. So we see this thing all the time. It's brilliant. And lots of sort of famous film stars are there and stuff quite regularly as well. So it's quite exciting. And we've got sort of a new unit there, which is really tall, really high, with plenty of room for us to kind of expand and do other things in there. And because we've got the 300 litres still, we've got scale. We could, if we need to produce 6-figure quantities, bottles a year. I don't know. I don't really necessarily want to get to that point, but it may happen. I don't know. So we've got the scale to. We're very scalable in that sense. So that's really helpful. We've invested quite a lot in equipment. So we've got an automatic labeler and a filler that's pretty quick, stuff like that. So we've not invested in people quite so much. It's more the equipment side, but we will start to need more people fairly soon, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you can do everything. You are doing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
In theory, it'd be a tough couple of days, but in theory, we could do the distillation one day, and then bottle about 500 bottles the next day from that distillation run. So within 2 days, we could have 500 bottles, and we could do. We just kept doing it. I mean, that would be huge. I
get really excited about stuff like this. You know, as somebody that's out to grow businesses and help people stand out and sell, I am all about how we scale, how we get to market. How we scale. I've got volume 4, 5, and 6. I've got bespoke.
Well, I know what 4 is, but can you tell me what 5 and 6 are, please?
I'm going to get a little mixing, get a pestle and mortar downstairs, and
send all ideas are welcome. In fact, if anybody on this has got any thoughts on what they would like to see in a gin, send them to us. And you know, we can make things on a really tiny scale if we need to. So we can do some experiments, and you know, got an idea for a gin, we could make it, send it to them. There's all sorts of things we can do. So if anybody's got any ideas, let us know.
Like a sip and share and Surrey Copper Distillery or audience specific gin, like if everybody wanted certain
people. If you got together on sip and share and said, we want a gin with these certain botanicals, these characteristics, we could make that. We could make enough really quite easily to send it to everybody and see what we thought.
Oh, don't. My brain's been going on all of this sort of stuff the past few days. Everybody just watch this space. So, right, I think, does anyone have any questions for Chris? Fran's written about, I wonder if there's an online gin festivals. I have seen a couple of these things kicking around, actually. Seen some online food festivals, things on Facebook with live cooking. There you go, Kate, an opportunity. Fran, I don't need any more opportunities. I actually want to say, I can't cope. My husband's going insane. Yeah.
Focus eventually, don't you?
I know, right? I feel like I'm gonna break the rules here because I've drank all of my volume 2. So what should I put? And I've got a bit that is elderflower and the strawberries left. So should I put 3 or 1 in?
Sorry, what have you got?
I've just got elderflower tonic.
Yeah.
Elderflower tonic and strawberries. That's it in there. There's no booze. No booze in there.
Oh, volume 1 would be better than volume 2. Volume 3, I think. Right.
Well, we're just going to trust the master distiller and pour it in. Let's go. So that's not very sophisticated, is it, Chris? For goodness sake.
I don't know. I look pretty sophisticated to me.
It's all gone.
That didn't.
I know what I need to do. I need to learn where the line is drawn. Hi, Stephen. I need to start drawing some lines, Chris, and stick with them.
Yeah. Some rules. Just take above the screen.
Okay. Do not.
Yeah, do not.
Do that again.
So if anybody has any questions about the gin, the distillery, anything really, I'm really happy to answer any questions. So please fire away. If anybody's always had a question about gin that they thought, you know, I really wondered about that, just let us know. We'll be very happy to answer the questions.
I reckon you are up for, I mean, my God, Chris, you've just offered us the opportunity to create our own gin. I think we're certainly going to be able to cope if someone pops a question on. So if they don't have, because the question will come in the thread on the page. So if we don't see a question now, people do have a question later. Hi, Stephen. Daisy Distillery. Stephen from Daisy Distillery.
From which distillery, sorry?
From Daisy Distillery.
Daisy.
Daisy Distillery.
Hi, Stephen.
Stephen, another lovely chat. Stephen, I'm going to get you on this. We're going to be doing one of these. This is you watching the practice one. We've sent Chris out there.
Yes.
Chris, what happens first, and this is it.
And I'm going to be sending some really horrible questions, Stephen, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's get some really hard ones. Well, if no one's got any questions, then I will just need to go and put my children in bed at some point. They're used to mummy just doing lives, drinking gin, and not really paying much attention. But oh, that's a nice one. So we'll leave it there then. Thank you so much, Chris.
Absolutely.
Well, Fran has come in. Flavour ideas. Following the theme of the famous books, Turkish Delight from Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe, Pickled Lime for Little Women.
Pickled lime. That
Well,
sounds interesting.
you know what? That's an interesting point, actually, Fran, because how we kind of talk and joke about flavour profiles, and if you've got a flavour profile you want, but actually, what would you or what wouldn't you put your name to? You know, your stuff's got a flavour, got a not a consistent flavour. It's got an approach. It's got a level of sophistication and quality. But even if we translated that quality to a flavour that was outside of the flavour portfolios that you like working with, how do you, from a brand perspective, how does that sit with you? How far would you take this? Have we got Candy Floss gin?
No. See, all of our gins at the moment are London Dries, so they're very, very traditional, very traditionally made gins. We don't have any flavoured gins. We're looking at that at the moment, so we might do some in the future. But if we do, there'll be sort of special editions rather than a volume 4 or 5 or 6 or something. So we may do that at some point. But at the moment, they're very traditional. So no, we're not doing weird and wacky bubblegum flavoured and lemon and all that kind of stuff. And they're really popular and they're great products, but don't fit with us. That's not where we're at.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people love those kinds of drinks, but they're not the kind of drinks they're not the kind of gin that I would like. So it's not something that we can really make.
And I would agree. And actually, from a brand, with my marketing, with a branding head on, it doesn't fit. I feel like we would be going too far away from this firm foundation that you have got in terms of the quality, in terms of the aesthetics, to all of a sudden be like bubblegum and candy floss and gin liqueurs in this sweet flavors that probably go far against being able to drink neat and working with those premium tonics. That it would be a bit like, as I say to clients, it'd be a bit like money. It would be like, just because you can, you should.
Yeah. No, it's they have their place and they're very popular. I think at the moment flavoured gins are outselling dry gins.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity out there to do all sorts of interesting things, but it's not really the kind of gins that. And going back to the kind of first question, really, would we make a gin that we don't like and sell it? No, is the honest answer to that. It has to be something we really like. Otherwise, I just don't think you can be passionate about it.
I can't see you walking around the market or in the artisan markets or in your village with some sort of bubble gum, like you've introduced volume 1, 2, and 3, and then the next is a Parma Violet and bubble gum combination. It doesn't feel like it's going to fit. I feel like
using gravy gin or something. No, not really.
Lindsay has said a gin to stand up to ginger ale and chili. Ginger ale and chili. Okay.
Ale and chili.
Al, do you know one of those, Lindsay? A ginger.
Yeah.
No. Is the chili in the Lindsay? Tell us. Is the chili in the ginger ale? Is this a ginger ale and chili?
That's a garnish. You couldn't. I think if you distilled chili, you wouldn't get any of the chili flavour. So it must be either within the ginger ale or as a garnish. It can't be part of the gin unless you were making a flavoured gin with chili. I guess you could do that. I think that's a garnish. I don't know if there is a gin that stands up to ginger ale. I've never tried it. I don't know.
I feel like
try it though, if there is one.
My question to Lindsay is, Lindsay, why would you put chili on your glass? I
can understand that. Gives you a little bit of a kick. That's a good thing.
I struggle enough with chili is garnish only.
Yeah.
Lindsay, that's quite a kick though. I'm definitely more in the sweeter tooth space.
Yeah.
Stephen has said, I'll be placing an order with one of your gins. Stephen, we do have a Sip and Share discount code if you would like to use Placing an order for one of your gins. What's your recommendation from your selection for a dry martini?
Dirty martini. Volume 1, without a shadow of a doubt. We actually produce our own vermouth as well. It's called Chimes, which was another Dickens, not a novel, but it was a short story. And I can go through all the detail, but there's a connection with Italy, and he wrote in Italy. And that is a ratio is very dry martini, so kind of a 1:5, 1:6 kind of ratio of vermouth to volume 1 is an absolutely sensational martini. Unfortunately, we don't have it in the moment because we're only using a local wine, which we don't have available at the moment. Later on this year, we'll make some more of that vermouth, and that's got a really kind of a Christmassy taste. It's lovely. It's a beautiful martini. But if you're going to use a different vermouth, I would suggest volume 1 without a shadow of a doubt, and it makes a great dirty martini.
There we go. And I saw the picture of, is it called Chimes? Did you say?
Chimes, yeah.
On your website, beautiful bottle, full covered bottle, wasn't it? By the looks of things,
it is, yeah. And the design is kind of I don't have one here. It's like a green label.
Yeah.
It's got copper running through it again, like all of them do. But this time the copper goes up the bottle, and it's in the shape of grapevines. So it's vines, obviously for the wine base.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's hopefully that'll be something that we'll bring back later on in the year. The really nice thing about that one from a branding perspective, which I'm sure you'd like, is that the paper that we use on the label is actually like a linen effect. So when you feel it, it feels like an old book. It really does. It's brilliant. It's so tactile. It's incredible.
Well,
and we were really when we first made it because we thought, because obviously with the copper foiling on the top of it, as we've got on all of our labels, we thought it might not sit properly, but it works like a dream. It was beautiful, but you can really feel the texture of it.
I will tell you now, Chris, I won't turn away the DPD man when he drops one of them off. I won't turn him away. I'll come on in. The branding is absolutely beautiful, and I think I said I put on Facebook and Instagram and whatnot that I called them kind of a really a kind of posh old girl band, the three of them, when I've got the feed lined up together, because I think they look absolutely beautiful, and it did stand out actually on the website when I saw the press release associated with Chimes. Stephen has said, Fran says Schweppes does a ginger. Swept. I'm going to keep that on there. I'm going to keep the discount code on there so you can see it on the Sip and the Surrey Copper Distillery website. Schweppes does a ginger and chili mixer.
Not seen that. I'd like to try it though. That'd be really interesting.
Try it. See, I love that. I love how you're kind of all optimistic and like try it. Really interesting. I'll try it. I would say I'll try it once, but that's not true. But I would try it. I have just been sent some mixes from Skinny Tonic to try.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard mixed things. I'm going to say that. I've heard mixed things about them. I'm going to try it. One of them is a clear coffee tonic. Yeah. So I have a bottle of chocolate gin. It was really expensive. And I got it a long time ago and actually wasn't that good. So I've still got it. Chocolate gin. Yeah, it's not it's what's it called? Is it called aphrodisiac or something like that? And it was £55 for 50 centilitres, and it wasn't an aphrodisiac. I can tell you that.
Right. Yeah. So was it like a Bailey's type thing, or was it just it was like a clear gin but flavoured with chocolate?
Yeah, and you got some cocoa nibs with it, and it was the whole. I think the idea was there was a whole scene going on that you were supposed to execute. But I obviously at the time must have been way too keen to drink it and gone, oh, that's no good whatsoever. Well, probably a bit harsh that. Lindsay said Inverroch. How do you pronounce that, Lindsay? Inverroche, Amber. How do you pronounce that, Chris? Inverroche, amber and chili.
I don't know. Maybe amber with ginger and chili would love a local alternative.
Inverroche Amber, is that the name of the gin? Inverroche Amber Gin? Is that with ginger ale and chili? Would love a local alternative.
Must be. Yeah, it must be, I guess.
Googling that in a minute.
I would love a local alternative. Okay. Well, let's give it a go. I'm definitely up for having a try that and seeing what you think.
We need to find a bottle of Inverroche Amber.
There aren't many gins that work well with a ginger ale. I mean, obviously you've got your kind of rhubarb type, that kind of gin which works pretty well with ginger ale. But there aren't many sort of London dries really that work terribly well with ginger ale, I don't think anyway. So I'd love to try that. There must be some very interesting botanicals in there to make it work with ginger ale and chili. But yeah, I'm going to look into that. I'll make a note. And,
you can post a photo or a little video of you drinking it and tell us what it is. Send some photos. Let's see what it is. I'll put it on the Sip and Share page so we can all have a little nosy. I can't possibly.
Is that like sliced bits of chili with the seeds in the whole thing, or is it in flakes?
I'm just
fascinated.
I'm just doing this. The chili is going around my glass, and that is as close as the chili is getting. That'll be the day when someone sends me a gin.
And in the comments bit, Lindsay, tell us a little bit more about it. That'd be really good.
Yeah. Stephen says, awesome. I'll be ordering one of each. All right, so Stephen, I've been to the towns he wrote in. Padua in Italy.
Yeah, Padua, yeah.
Padua in Italy. Whereabouts in Italy?
Yeah, he went, so just really quickly with chimes. He went to Italy on a tour with his family. Must have taken a long time to get there in those days, I'm sure. And he was in a place, he was in, I think it was Genoa, I'm not entirely sure, somewhere in Italy where there was a tower. And apparently he was a really poor sleeper. He was a bit of an insomniac. So we went for a walk just before midnight, and he heard all these bells kind of chime in, and he looked up at this tower, and it gave him this idea for a story. And the story's basically about these goblins who are in the bell tower. And this guy in the story goes to basically to commit suicide, very sad. And these kids kind of show him the future for his family with him dead and with him staying alive. And at the end of it, he decides not to kill himself and go and spend time with his family. It's all great in the end. Which is a very similar story, if you think about it, to A Beautiful Life. So that's possibly where they got the idea for that story. Yeah, he was so excited, apparently, when he wrote this this kind of short story. He travelled all the way back to England, to London, to see his friends. He read out the story to them, got their feedback, and then went back again with his family in Italy.
That's commitment to feedback. That is, Chris. That is customer feedback.
Yeah, going above and beyond. And that must have taken a month to get home, surely, at least.
If only all businesses went to that length to understand customers.
I know.
Well, Lindsay, Kirsty has said Pilgrim's Gin works with ginger ale. Not had Pilgrim's Gin. Have a look at that. And Lindsay said slices of chili. So I've asked, no idea what to pick. So I've just said, can you pop a pic on the Sip and Share page?
Yeah, no, I think we know. We're going to look into that. I'm definitely going to look into that. I love chili, and I like ginger ale. I just don't think it always works with gin. But yeah, I mean, yeah, let's have a go. Why not?
Why not? You've got the tools at your disposal. The audience waits.
I should be set later on ordering some. Brilliant.
Right, so I've gone from not having a drink tonight because I've got my Diet Coke to now having probably like 50 centilitres. 50 millilitres, not 50 centilitres.
You're all right. You're allowed.
Right, but I've got to go and parent. I've got to go and do some parenting. Right, so thank you so much, Chris. We are going to leave it there. But thank you for being the first. Stephen, Chris has paved the way for you. Come on, David Distillery. Waiting.
Yeah. Disappointed, no difficult questions from Stephen. I was expecting a couple, but
he'll have. Well, you can line them up for when we get.
I'll make up for it. Don't worry.
Good. Okay, well, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for your comments and for joining in. If you watch on replay, please put hashtag replay, and I will get the video, put it on YouTube, and share it on the link as well. So, thank you so much, Chris. I will speak to you. I will just end the broadcast now, and I'll speak to you in a moment. Okay.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye. Bye.